Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Short & Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.
From Mansur's on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge, we're out to lunch with editor of the Baton Rouge Business Report, Stephanie Riegel. It's business Baton Rouge style.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Riegel. Welcome to Out to Lunch. We hear that it's difficult to attract tech talent to Baton Rouge and harder still to build tech companies, but that's not entirely true. Local companies are carving out an amazing space in the tech sector and designing really impressive software platforms and tools that are attracting worldwide attention. Joining me today is Steve McKinney of Cell Control, a Baton Rouge company that less than a decade ago came up with technology to help eliminate distracted driving. That was in 2009. In the years since, Cell Control has become the global leader in this field by selling its services to companies, big Fortune 500 companies that have huge fleets of potentially distracted drivers. One reason the technology is so popular is because it's simple. It pairs a Bluetooth device with your cell phone to help keep texting and web surfing impulses in check while you're on the road. It consists of just an online account, a device that mounts on your windshield under your rearview mirror, and an app. It's also popular because it's saving those big companies with their fleets of drivers a lot of money in insurance premiums. And today, Cell Control has over 100,000 users, a number that's expected to grow, and Steve is going to tell us all about how they're doing it. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Also at the table with me and Steve is Calvin Fabry, CEO of Envoke, a Baton Rouge-based digital agency that does custom software development, mobile applications, advertising and branding campaigns, web design, web applications, intranets, and portals. Calvin founded the company in the early 2000s. Today, Envoke has grown to more than 30 employees, a second location in Hammond, and a reputation as one of the go-to software development firms in the area. And one of Envoke's most innovative new products, and one of Calvin's personal favorites, is LA Wallet, a digital driver's license that you have on your phone and that serves as a legally accepted form of ID. And as cool as that is, Envoke is taking it a step further, expanding on it with the development of a verification portion so you can check the background of an Uber driver or even the status of a contractor who comes to your home to do repairs. Calvin, that's a great story, so can't wait to hear all about it. Thanks for being here with us.
Can't wait to talk about it. Thanks.
Well, Steve, I want to start with you because people probably don't realize that distracted driving is one of the fastest growing fleet management expenses for business. It's not just a safety problem, but it's a cost problem. And so Cell Control is having amazing results addressing it. According to your company's data, your platform has protected customers from trying to access more than 16 million apps and text messages. And those are phenomenal numbers.
Yeah.
Never mind how you came up with that number. But how does the software work?
Well, it's really quite simple. I mean, how many times have any of us been driving down the road and you see that car swerve a little bit in front of you, and as you pull up, they're sitting there looking down at the phone.
Right.
What we do is we have an app that sits in the background on the phone, and it's basically listening for that device that you mentioned at the beginning. We have a device in the vehicle, too. It's basically checking for motion of the vehicle. Once that vehicle goes into motion, it puts a signal out that gets picked up by that phone, and we essentially put a blocking screen up. So you can't interact inappropriately with the device. You can't text, you can't email, you can't web browse. We can do things where you can allow hands-free calls if that's legal and that's what your choice is, things like that, or you can shut it down completely. The signal does still work, calls are still coming in, texts are still coming in the background, it's just that the driver doesn't know that they're coming in. So you have to stop. Once a vehicle stops, phone works like normal, and that's the real simple version of it.
Interesting.
So.
And so today, as I mentioned, I mean, the real growth in this is to sell it to companies with huge fleets, not just to people with teenagers or.
Yeah, it's really it's a matter of early on, and we're starting to really hit a growth spurt, which is really nice. But early on, it was, quite frankly, let's stay alive. If we can go and sell to one company and get 500 users versus having to go find 500 parents who are willing to do this, it was a lot easier to basically start off and make some revenue. We would like to, and we do have a couple of smaller consumer programs that we're working on right now. One in particular that I'll just highlight. we're working with a county in New York, in Nassau County, where New York has basically a zero tolerance. If you're caught touching a phone while you're driving, you get a ticket. But they have a policy in Nassau County where if you want to sign up for the cell control program for a minimum of 90 days, then they'll still charge you your fine, but they waive the 5 points against your license, which is kind of huge. We don't do points in Louisiana, but it's at 11 points up there, you lose your license, and a texting ticket is worth 5 of those 11 points. So they'll waive the points, which saves those drivers money on insurance, and that's one of our consumer programs that we are doing. But everything else is pretty much those fleets that we're trying to work with. Yeah.
So interesting. All right, we'll delve more into that in a minute. But Calvin, I want to bring you into the conversation because Envoke is doing all sorts of cool stuff too. And LA Wallet is really a standout product. Y'all spent several years developing it. And where is it now in terms of its growth, and what kind of reach are you having with it?
Great reach with LA Wallet, the first digital driver's license acceptable
in the whole country.
In the entire country. So right here, developed in the Silicon Bayou of Louisiana.
Fantastic.
By 100% Louisiana graduates is the LA Wallet digital driver's license app. It's available in the app stores, Google stores. In the first month and a half, over 50,000 users downloaded.
Really?
Yes.
And so when did y'all debut?
The governor announced it, I believe, on July the 2nd. But I would love to bring a whole team of people in here to have lunch because it wasn't just Invoke, it was the Department of Public Safety, state police. It was the general counsel of the state of Louisiana. It was a lot of people got together in the same room to hash out legislation to make this legal. To make it legally acceptable by state police, municipality police, parish police, and we're on the road to adoption right now. Alcohol, tobacco control, so you can use it at bars and restaurants and stores when you're buying alcohol and tobacco. Also, the Commissioner of Elections is all about it as well. So we can use it there.
Did they come to you, or did you all have to try to go sell the state on changing the laws, which is pretty amazing?
Well, it was part of an RFP response that we were doing for the Department of Public Safety.
And as part of they put it out there.
They did. The state asks whenever they issue a request for proposal, they ask for innovative concepts from vendors. And as part of those innovative concepts, we saw this on the horizon. We pitched it as part of our response. The state recognized it and said, this is something that we could bring to life here. So over the course of years, Representative Ted James sponsored the legislation in 2016. It became an Act 625, I believe. And here we go. We're off to the races and leapfrogging a lot of other states.
And was it pretty easy to get passed through?
It was.
Okay.
Yes, mainly because of the collaboration between the Department of Public Safety, state police, and all the players.
So let's talk about developing these very complex systems. You gave a plug to the LSU programmers and designers that helped you, or the Louisiana graduates who did that. Who has designed your software, Steve, at Cell Control?
Everything that we do here, all of the software, the hardware device, everything we do here is done right here in Baton Rouge from that aspect. We actually have 3D printers and prototyping machines in our offices at the Louisiana Technology Park, so we can create prototypes there. We do send off for manufacturing when we get to large production, but all of that, the firmware built on the device and the software that's built into the app, everything is developed right here in the Baton Rouge office. And I think just about everybody is also Louisiana grads on our team too. So.
And has it been difficult to find the talent to do that?
It's it's not as much of a challenge as everybody makes it out to be. I mean, it takes us probably a little bit longer than, we may not have the list of 40 resumes that all qualify like you might have in some other larger cities, but we always have a couple that qualify, and we can always kind of weed out and figure out who's the best candidate at that point in time. We haven't had, I think the longest time we've had a job posting out there on the technical side is really maybe 3 or 4 weeks before we found the right candidate. So it's really not as bad as people try to make it out to be.
What do you think, Calvin? You're kind of shaking your head a little bit.
It is really hard to find, for us, it's hard to find the right balance of skill, technology, aptitude, and empathy. We like those candidates that can really empathize and get in the shoes of the people that are going to use the app. So even though it wasn't developed at the colleges, we have all of our staff come from Louisiana colleges. So our colleges, especially Southeastern universities, doing a great job with computer science graduates. That's why we have an office in Hammond, Louisiana.
Now, with your products, and let's talk cell control for a minute, are y'all the only ones doing it in the whole country? Do you have a patent on it to protect it? And what I'm wondering is, has anybody figured out how to hack their way around it?
So, yeah, we do have a few patents that have been issued on our technology. So we do have some protection there. As far as other folks who are doing what we're doing, there's a few other companies around the country that are trying to do some of the things. There's a couple of unique pieces that we have been able to crack that nobody else has, though. Actual protection on an iPhone. There's really not anybody else who can do what we're doing. Apple and iPhone have a lot more protection wrapped around their operating system and what have you. So we figured out some unique ways to do it that have been completely passed by, the Apple engineers. They've kind of dug into it with us. So that's something unique, and plus the way that with our technology we can identify actually when the phone is in the driver's seat and only block it while it's in the driver's seat.
Okay.
And we have some patent protection around that too. So I can hand the phone to my passenger. They could use the phone, send my wife a text, and hand it back, and it's blocked again. So there's a couple of unique things that we're doing that nobody else is. And so really over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, some of our kind of perceived competitors around the country really have just kind of started dropping off because we've become the choice of the fleets and what have you. So, you hate to see anybody going out of business, but that's what's happening because our guys, and I would love to take credit, but it's not me. It's our guys on the engineering side and girls doing that, and we're doing it better than anybody else. So
how big are y'all now? I mean, what kind of volume are you doing?
Volumes right now, we're probably shipping close to 5,000 a month right now, and so we expect that to continue to grow. 6 months ago, I would have told you it was about 2,000 a month.
So it's really growing fast.
It's really starting to hit stride now. Yep.
Tell us a little bit more about LA Wallet, Calvin, because this is such a cool concept. What kind of growth are you all seeing, and how are you getting people to use it? What's the sales pitch? Why would I want to use it?
Well, the sales pitch is you have your digital identity on your phone. People leave the house all the time, and if they leave their wallet, they don't go back. But if they leave their phone, they definitely go back. The next thing is that it's always up to date. The card in your wallet, you can drive around for months not knowing that you're suspended or that your insurance lapsed and they told the DMV, and the next time you're going to get a nasty bill when you go back. So the app phones home every time you use it and daily, and it says, is this credential still good with the DMV? Are they still happy with me?
So you all have designed something that's talking to the DMV database, and
Absolutely.
It's also connected to every user's individual ID?
Yes, it is a secure digital credential on your phone that has a real-time connection back to the DMV, back to the state's mainframe. And that's why we introduced the Verify You, the ability for me to verify that you're not a suspended driver and that you are who you say you are.
So how does this work?
Well, you have to both mutually agree to share certain information. For example, the app will only allow me to share with you the valid status of my license, i.e. I'm not suspended. Am I over 21? Very important. I'll come back to that one later. My full name, and optionally my driver's license number.
Okay.
We only want you to get those things. Those are the only things that you really need to work with when it comes to my identity. We worked with the ACLU, believe it or not, the Libertarian Party.
But that's smart. Get them on board early, right?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
that could potentially have been
Anytime you get a no comment from ACLU, you're in great shape. Great shape. And I'll take that all day long. So we think that the Verify You portion is going to be, again, a part of a safety system. Just like Steve is in the safety business, we're also in the safety business that we just recently found ourselves in.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Stephanie Riegel. I'm talking to Calvin Fabry of Envoke and Steve McKinney of Cell Control. We'll be right back after this very short break. You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Stephanie Riegel. I'm talking to Calvin Fabry of Envoke and Steve McKinney of Cell Control. How has it been? I mean, these are both such great products, and I know y'all have both been around for a while, but Is there money here to develop these? How has the financing end of this, the search for the venture capital or the investment money that you need?
Initially, we kind of started, most of our investment was kind of friends and family, so it was local folks around here, a lot of business names that you would probably recognize here and there who really started Cell Control and kind of helped get it going. Since then we've taken, just recently we did take on a little bit more of kind of institutional money, and this is really helping us to hit that kind of growth spurt right now.
I mean, to do the
really,
kind of rollouts, and
yeah,
you're talking about nationwide, it seems like.
Yeah, it's worldwide now. I mean, we are, we're a Baton Rouge-based corporate headquarters company here, and we just opened an office in Dublin, Ireland.
Fantastic.
That's so cool.
It's
and what goes on in the Dublin office?
We're trying to ramp up some of the EU sales, Europe in general. I shouldn't say EU anymore because somebody not hanging around. But anyway, so trying to ramp up some sales out there. I mean, you go back to it. It's a universal problem. I mean, like I said, you just drive down the street, you can see it 5 times in 3 miles or more, and it's not just over here. I mean, it's everywhere. So we've got customers now in Australia, in Europe, a couple of customers in parts of Asia, and in Africa. So it's we're trying to really take it, and to do that, we needed a little bit of funding. I mean, to get the word out, get the marketing done, and everything else. So that's where we are. But
and what about Invoke?
Yeah, Invoke is LA Wallet was all delivered with zero cost to the state. We developed it all on our dime.
Have you been able to roll it out to other states, or do you have plans to roll it out to other states?
We do. We've had other states contact us.
That's nice.
Already. Even one overseas, an overseas country. We can go drink some Guinness at Stephen's Dublin, Ireland office. That would be great. So yes, we are so early in this right now. It's really an exciting time.
Are other states doing it at all? You said we jumped ahead of several.
Yes, we did. The government paid, I think, a $2 million grant to a couple of other vendors that do identity, and they are establishing a pilot program for about 10 other states. They are going very slowly. They've been doing it now for about 5 years. They don't plan to launch the first state, I think it's Iowa, until the end of 2019.
Okay.
But we have leapfrogged over 10, and some people would say 15 different states that are trying to do this.
Steve, do we have data that shows, for instance, how much safer the roads have gotten since this distracted driving technology has been available?
So, I mean, not so much the roads overall, because granted, with 100,000 of our customers out there, there's a long way to go for us to make a significant dent in the roads in general. I can tell you that we have, I've seen the data from some of our customers. One in particular, I won't mention by name, but a large pharmaceutical we deployed to their North American sales fleet, about 3,500 vehicles. They right now are experiencing, in the first year, they were consistent through the first year at about 48 to 52% reduction in accidents month over month over month
That's
over
huge.
month since they deployed. I mean, you take half the accidents
That's
of 3,500
huge.
vehicle fleet, you're talking millions of dollars saved, millions of injuries, and a lot of people hopefully went home that might not have. Is really kind of how we get up in the morning. That's how I get up. It's every once in a while I almost get a little choked up about it. It's like, look, we're going to wake up and go do our job, and then make sure that somebody who might not have gone home is going to go home tonight.
I have a question for Stephen. What is the mix between commercial drivers and residential drivers, non-commercial drivers?
Right now, it's probably about 95% commercial.
Okay.
That we're
I can
deployed
see
out
where
to.
that's a lot of benefit.
And the insurance companies have driven a lot of this. You all were smart to partner with them early on.
We have had some of our customers come to us. It's also different on commercial lines versus personal lines, but that's a much longer discussion. But so commercial lines insurers have a little bit more flexibility in being able to look at a technology like ours, work with their customers to deploy it, and offer some discounts. As warranted, though. So we have had some of our customers come to us and say, look, my insurer is basically saying we're not going to get renewed unless I tackle some of my problem with accidents. We know that it's basically due to a lot of people on the phones. Sometimes they admit it, sometimes they don't. Another discussion is how underreported the problem is. But
I'll admit it. I do it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
stop.
I'm trying.
I have a fix for you.
Stop calling
it's
me.
It's quite simple. But it's to have them come to us and say, look, I'm getting ready to get dropped. And then within a year, they're calling back and saying, okay, my insurer renewed me. And we end up getting another phone call from that insurer, too, saying, hey, we've got some other customers we'd like to talk to you about. But they renewed me, and they gave me discounts this year because I had a 37% reduction in accidents last year based on after I deployed with your technology. So, yes, some numbers that I can get you on it. Are we making a dent in the overall national average? You know, it's the tiniest little dent so far, but we're getting there, and we're going to make a difference.
Calvin, on an unrelated topic, but you know, I'm thinking about LA Wallet, and we talk so much about identity theft, and
yes.
And so one of the things you think is, gee, could somebody steal my ID? You know, if it's on my phone.
Right. We've had a lot of discussion around that. In fact, I can't tell you the third-party company that comes in and vets all of our processes. We don't want to issue any challenges to our security layers. But that is a huge concern.
Sure.
That's why when I was telling you about Verify You, I, the citizen, get to choose what attributes I want you to see a third party.
Okay.
It's also kept behind your fingerprint or your facial recognition with an Apple phone or an Android phone. You can also set up a 4-digit PIN and a user ID and password. It has as many layers as are practical. Now, what if your phone runs out of battery juice and you just got pulled over? Mm-hmm. Well, you can log into your wife's phone, as long as you know your user ID password, and get your secure credential downloaded to your device at that point, too.
Okay.
So, but as far as stealing it, if I knew that my phone was misplaced, if I left it in a taxi in New York, for example, I could go online to either another phone or online to the web and say log out of all devices. And that device now would then remove my digital ID if it ever got run.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fail-safe. Are there other big products that you all are working on that might, be as, I mean, I don't know if Cell Control is the company and the product, but are there ancillary products that spin off of that? Is there anything as big as LA Wallet in the Invoke, toolbox?
Well, on the LA Wallet side, we have a lot of feedback. On feedback.lawallet.com, it's a website where people that are already using the app go and put their ideas in. The number one is wildlife and fisheries licenses. Please add that beneath my driver's license. And the cool thing about LA Wallet is it is the most authoritative credential. I mean, you use that to go get a passport, right?
Sure.
So underneath that credential, you can put things like concealed carry permits. And that's the number 3 requested feature. Okay. So
why am I not
we are in
surprised?
Louisiana.
There you go.
Yes, we are. So that's the thing. We're going to be adding additional credentials
Gotcha.
underneath the authoritativeness of the driver's license.
Yeah, and I mean, from our perspective, as a matter of fact, right now I have 2 guys in Atlanta who are doing an install on a forklift because you'd be amazed at the number of, folks who are sitting there. Some of them, they have tablets mounted on the forklift, and they're sitting there riding around on a forklift that's quite a heavy piece of equipment, carrying quite heavier pieces of equipment, and the number of accidents that are attributed to things like that. But on the horizon, we look to do things like that. But also, we can, we're trying to focus on the vehicle and motor vehicles and forklifts and thing right now. But as time goes on, we are starting to do some exploration into the boardroom, the classroom, homework time at night.
Like that.
We can do things like that. So, it's all there. It's just a matter of, having that focus right now in where we need to create our biggest niche, and then we'll start to expand out of there. But, yeah, think about setting, from 7 to 9, all phones, no more typing on phones in the house while homework's
Love
going.
that. Love that.
Is there any legislation proposed for this in any jurisdictions? Are they saying we're going to mandate this for commercial drivers or anything like that?
Well, so from the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Act, I think FMCSA, right? It's already, technology like this is not mandated, but just like texting and driving laws, they're starting to take hold. Now, FMCSA has a federal law for commercial drivers that if they're caught holding a phone or mobile device while the vehicle's even running, they personally get a hefty fine. I want to say it's something like $12,000, they get $2,000. The company gets fined like $12,000 to $15,000, and the driver themselves get a $2,500 fine. So, but legislation as far as deploying the technology, no. And will that come one day? I don't know. I'm at this point, I'm a bigger fan of giving somebody the tool to be able to give yourself the discipline. Because, I mean, what our technology does, it really changes habits. When I first started working for Cell Control about 5 years ago, I put it in my vehicle. And I was guilty too. Within about a week, you just stop picking up your phone. It just trains you differently. And now we're doing testing in our own vehicles and different things. So there's times I might go for a couple of weeks without it, or even a month. It doesn't matter. I just don't pick up my phone. It has changed my habits.
That's so great. Yeah, and, just a behavior thing.
It is.
Do you foresee like actually having it built into cars or into vehicles?
We are working with that. We're working with some of the OEMs to try to get it essentially built into the vehicles. They move relatively slowly. And so there's a lot of considerations around that. Really, it's quite easy to have the technology deployed and just have it available. Think of like an OnStar. Finally just got it deployed, it's there, and now you can subscribe or not, your choice. But there are a few hurdles from getting folks on that. One is, quite frankly, there's sometimes a little bit of finger pointing. Everybody recognizes that there is now a distracted driving problem, but whose fault is it? Is it a phone manufacturer? Is it a phone carrier? Or is it the auto manufacturer?
Or the driver?
Right. It really is the driver.
It's the driver.
It's the driver. It is.
Own it.
So, I think there's some reluctance sometimes, like if we deploy this, are we admitting fault? Well, no, it is.
Reality.
It's us. It's the drivers that are the problem. So we have a simple way to fix it.
Well, Steve McKinney and Calvin Fabria, I think a lot of people don't realize how much tech talent we have here in Baton Rouge and how many successful companies such as yours that we have in the tech arena here. So y'all are both setting the bar high and giving us hope for a bright future. We appreciate it, and good luck with your continued success.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My guests today on Out to Lunch have been Calvin Fabry of Envoke and Steve McKinney of Cell Control. You can find out more about Envoke and Cell Control by going to our website, itsbatonrouge.la. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Merle. Our associate producer is Peter Raschuti, and our Baton Rouge business consultants are Charlie D'Agostino and Ann Edelman. If you want to know what we all look like, you can find photos from this show on our website, itsbatonrouge.la, and on our It's Baton Rouge Facebook page. These photos were taken by Carrie Hosford. You can find more of Carrie's photos at carriehosford.com. You can hear this show and past episodes of Out to Lunch wherever you get podcasts and at itsbatonrouge.la. Out to Lunch is a production of I&O Broadcasting for itsbatonrouge.la and WRKF 89.3 FM. I'm Stephanie Riegel. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the table here at Mansur's for more business Baton Rouge style on Out to Lunch.
Out to Lunch Baton Rouge is recorded live over lunch at Mansur's on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Mansur's is open for lunch daily 11 to 2, for dinner nightly, and for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. Mitchell Foreman wrote and performs all the music on Out to Lunch. You can hear Mitchell's music anywhere great jazz is sold or streamed, and at mitchellforeman.com. Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Short & Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.